you know you're committing to a bit when the big boys come out. Ta-da! That's the first set of battery cables. And it hasn't been this quiet in this room for many years because I put the inverter into grid time mode and decommissioned the final lead-acid batteries. We have no batteries right now. Hasn't been that way since 2020. But that's of course in the name of progress. So I have pulled some of my insanely expensive battery wiring into a battery 2's breaker through the existing pass-through of a box, mounted it to my appropriately installed backwards DIN rail, and pulled it down here with a bit of plastic just because I don't like how tight that pressure point is otherwise, so a bit of plastic helps. Also down there, since these are very flexible wires, I don't want them to be crushed over time and accidentally short out against this rail. That could be a very bad time. And all the way down to a battery box. And no one's ever gotten fired for cutting your wires slightly too long, so I allowed for significant slack here, just in case I ever want to change the battery box. Maybe something happens with these and I get a new generation and the polarity is different. Well, I can do that just because I have a tiny bit of slack in the wires. That's not going to go back on. So I'm pretty happy with this. Bit of shrink wrap on the terminals. Sadly didn't have red in the right size, but red wire, you can figure it out. So that's not too bad. I don't mind how this is turning out. Probably gonna zip tie leaving these together once I get the final orientation a bit more nailed down. And I've also mounted a couple of pass-throughs for battery 1, because previously you can see these are wires which go to the aux cabinet and they just go all the way around there. I thought that was a bit not good. So I just put a couple of pass-throughs, and these are metal pass-throughs which will clamp down really firmly on the wires, so there'll be good strain relief here because the DIN rail doesn't actually extend all the way over there. So it's much nicer to just have some proper pass-throughs there. So these are going to get the same treatment and go down there and to battery number 1. I don't know, it feels weird. I feel like that should be battery 1 and that should be battery 2, but the way I've labelled it is, of course, the left is 1 and right is 2. That's going to bother me forever, but it is the way it is. Another day, and it's loud in here again. The sun is shining and we're doing work. So I have put, so since we have this guy in completely grid time mode, the entire 48 volt system is completely dead. There are no voltages anywhere in this cabinet, which is really great because we had the first power outage in months 5 minutes ago, while I, for the first time in 5 years, don't have a battery backup. So that was fun. Anyway, I'm about to wire up the B1 breaker, and this one's going to be a bit interesting. B2 is really straightforward. We have a positive and a negative going into the breaker, going to the main battery bus. Nothing to it, it's just a breaker. But with B1 we have a bit of an issue because I have the aux cabinet, and I would really like to get to make use of my nice wiring job to the aux cabinet, which means I would like to have it wired in. Now, since I retired battery 1 like a year or two ago, I just wired the aux cabinet straight into this breaker, and it was simple. Positive in, negative in, to the main DC bus, and that was that. No problem. But now we're going back into a situation where we have an actual battery 1, which means we are out of a breaker for the aux cabinet. It has always bothered me how these are 3-pole breakers. They are properly DC rated, as you can see, 600 volts DC, 20 kiloamps. so they're good breakers. But we're just using 2 of them. Well, I figured we can pull a bit of an ugly, and what I'm planning to do is use these bus bars to parallel up battery 1 and the aux cabinet, but I'm going to write the aux cabinet positive through this breaker over here to a wire going down here, and then again through this breaker. So that way we actually have a separate breaker with the same rated setting as this guy for the aux cabinet. So if we have a situation where we have excessive current flow from the aux cabinet into B1, this guy will trip and isolate both of the batteries. It's not super ideal because the negative will still just be hardwired in parallel, which is not really great, but there is a breaker on the other end of the negative, so it is not too bad, but it's not really ideal if this would just be 2 2-pole breakers. But this is the best we can do without like seriously rewiring the cabinet or making a horrible unsafe mess. Like the first thing I was thinking about was just putting the batteries straight in parallel. It won't be a huge problem because I will have circuit breakers in these actual battery cabinets, so they will never be more than 150 amps flowing to or from these guys. So that would theoretically, or that will protect stuff, but I don't really like it because it just seems dodgy to rely on the breaker in the battery. I'd rather rely on the breaker in the cabinet. So that's what we're going to do. So that's going to be a real ugly snaking wire going down from here to there, and then we're going to just put cable shoes on all of these wires and wire them sort of in parallel-ish. Now I am sure some of you are thinking, but FF, why don't you use the pole on the B2 breaker, because that's still unused, for the negative to the aux cabinet? And there's a very simple reason for that: redundancy. I do value uptime a lot, so I don't want to put myself in a situation where we have an excess current flowing to or from the aux cabinet, which would trip both of these guys. That's just not good. Okay, we're getting somewhere. The horrible misfit connection has been made. So let me bring you through what's going on here. So these are obviously the leads to the new lithium battery number 1, which is going to be that guy. And they go into these copper bus bars, which go into the breaker and feed onto the main battery bus there. So we have protection on positive and negative straight from the lithium battery. That's all well and good. Now we also have this ugly sin behind on the other side of the bus bar, which is going to the top of the breaker, and that comes out to this. This is the aux cabinet, and that runs off in this long wire all the way to the aux cabinet. So current between the aux cabinet and B1 is protected by 2 of these in series. That's all good. The sin is this connection here, where we have negative B1 going straight to aux cabinet negative. There's obviously no breaker in between there, but I think it worked pretty good still, because B1, that has internal fusing. It has right now it has this 200 amp breaker, and I'm going to add a 150 amp fuse before I commission that. So that's going to be very hard limited. So this is going to be limited by internal fusing in the battery. The other end of aux negative goes to breakers in the aux cabinet. So this is protected in the other end. Now the question is, does this pass the axe test? I.e., if someone just chops an axe into some of your wiring, what's going to happen? Are you still protected? And I think we're pretty good on that front. Say if someone chops an axe into these wires to the aux cabinet, where's the current going to go? Well, we're going to have a short circuit between these two wires. So that means that there's going to be a lot of current wanting to flow from the B1 into the aux cabinet. So we can follow where that goes. Well, from positive B1, that goes straight into the breaker. We're protected there. Good. From the negative of the battery, we are not protected, but we are already broken on the positive lead, so we're good there. We are also protected from axe chopping here, like if someone chops an axe on these two wires. Current from the aux cabinet is going to come in here, into the breaker, protected. So there's really no way for uncontrolled current to flow between any parts of this wiring. Everything is protected somewhere. It's just that this connection is not protected by this particular breaker. So I'm not. It's ugly. I'm not too bothered. This is not going to cause an issue, and it does look very tight here, but actually nothing is touching. This wire is completely free floating from all the others, and it's very sturdily mechanically held in place. So if we have, say, hot terminals here for whatever reason that torque to 50 Newton meters, I'm quite confident that these are not going to go loose, but just in case, that's not just going to melt through the insulation and short out there, nor is it going to short out there because there's ample space to move. So I'm pretty happy with this. This is the best I can do without really redoing this entire box. And of course the old aux Anderson connector had to give away of a dodo because I needed this space for the loop back cable for the aux cabinet. So this is definitely a sin, but it's not a sin that's gonna cause any damage. Okay, so I've cleaned up a bit, added some better labeling just to, in case I die or something, people are gonna have some kind of idea what's going on. Added plastic insulator here just in case. These are very, very sturdily in place, but now you can't get something in there to short that out easily, because this is very, very high energy. That's gonna go boom in your face. And some little extra labels here and there to make things clearer. Now, we're not ready to commission the system. I'm still waiting for my foam for that battery and some washers and stuff. But we do have a load which we can apply to this battery just to see it take a load. And that load is the breaker tripped LED, because this will light up if we do this. If we turn the battery on now, that LED should light up, and power is not going anywhere beyond that, so I don't need to think about anything being wrong with the further wiring. So just bolt the terminals on lightly, just for the hell of it. So let's do it. Let's see if this battery can take its first ever load. We're energized. Ta-da! That is the first load of this battery has taken. It's taking a load of like less than a milliamp, but that's still a load. Small victories. I am dying to actually get the parts to finish this battery up, and of course build the second one that's going to go in there, because, well, the sun is shining every day. I'm wasting a ton of energy, but things are looking up. I'm pretty happy with how this wiring has turned out. These are soft welding wires from Wirth. So they're not really installation grade, but they are really nice and flexible, and they were very cheap. So I'm really happy about that. And they had the red one as well. And I do want to keep them sort of loose down here, just to have some flexibility with different battery boxes, moving stuff around, rearranging, that sort of thing. But yeah, a load less than a milliamp. That is still very satisfying.